It is vital to know how to stop thinking negative thoughts. Here's why. We human beings experience an average of 50,000 thoughts every day. That's one thought for every 1.6 seconds of the day. Most of those thoughts are not helpful. Many thoughts are painful, and some thoughts are obsessive thoughts that won't go away. Read my guide to thought-stopping exercises to see why those thoughts won't stop. For instance, you might find yourself obsessively thinking and worrying about the future. And this is especially true for people with obsessive thought disorders, who need to do even more to stop thinking negative thoughts. In a moment I will show you how to remove negative thoughts from your mind quickly. But first, let's take a look at the different negative thoughts most people suffer from. There are so many different negative thoughts we experience. Negative thoughts about the past, negative thoughts about relationships, negative thoughts about the future, negative thoughts about life, negative thoughts about death, negative thoughts about other people, negative thoughts about our health, negative thoughts about exams, negative thoughts about upcoming career events, negative thoughts about society, government, negative thoughts about ourselves. Stop negative self-talk. But there's good news too. There are ways how to remove negative thoughts from the mind. And once you know how to stop negative thoughts, you will become that much healthier. I'm going to presume that right now it seems obvious that would want to remove negative thoughts from your mind forever. But that might not be the case by the end of this article, because the truth is that there is a reason for negative thoughts, why we think negative thoughts all the time. If you think negative thoughts a lot, it's time for a change. Start with my guide, Stop Thinking Too Much. Want to know just how negative we all are? Ruth Harris, the author of The Happiness Trap, Amazon, says 80% of everyone's thoughts are negative to some degree. It is normal to think negative thoughts, and some negative thinking is even helpful. Here's why negative thoughts are good sometimes. Imagine you wanted to buy a house but knew you couldn't afford it. You might think negatively about money. You might tell yourself, I can't afford that house. That's a simple negative thought. Taken at face value, you might think it would be more positive to say to yourself, I'm buying that house because I know I'll make enough money to afford it. But what if you don't? What if you end up bankrupt because of it and spend your life paying off debt? In that instance, your negative thought would have saved you from a lot of suffering. But don't stop all negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are imperative because they tell you how to navigate potential pitfalls. As Ryan Holiday, editor for the New York Observer, says, far too many ambitious undertakings fail for preventable reasons. Far too many people don't have a backup plan because they refuse to consider that something might not go exactly as they wish. Cognitive scientist Art Markman, Ph.D. agrees. Research actually suggests that focusing on a positive future lowers people's motivational energy. If you want to do a better job of achieving difficult goals, then it is important to contrast the future and the present. In particular, it is important to know what the obstacles are that will get in the way of achieving the desired future. So, while it is important to know how to stop thinking negative thoughts when those thoughts are unhelpful, it's always good to remember that some negative thinking is helpful. This is why the best strategy is to balance negative thoughts with positive ones. You can do that with mental contrasting. Some negative thoughts are serious killers. Did you know, one of the best things you can do for your health is to stop stress? It starts with stopping negative thoughts. Sometimes a negative thought can be a good thing. But there are nevertheless certain types of negative thoughts that are harmful, types of negative thoughts that you need to remove from your mind. For instance, painful past memories from traumatic events can have serious impacts on our mental health. Take a look at my guide to different types of negativity. It will highlight the thoughts you most need to stop. Infographic. Click to view. Seriously, stop thinking negative thoughts or you'll be sick. You probably want to know how to remove negative thoughts so you can be happy, right? But actually, there is a lot more to it than that. Negative thoughts produce physical manifestations. Different quality thoughts have been proven to produce different physical manifestations in the body. The body releases different chemicals based on the environment. When we're around things that make us happy, the body will release serotonin, dopamine, or oxytocin, all of which produce positive emotions. Conversely, if we're in a stressful environment, the body will release cortisol as a stress response. Does thinking negative thoughts affect our chemical balance? How about positive thoughts? Can thoughts possibly produce different reactions in the body? Interestingly, physical and mental pain produce virtually the same result in the body. When people feel emotional pain, the same areas of the brain get activated as when people feel physical pain. The anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, says Alan Fogel, professor of psychology at the University of Utah, 2. This has even led a team of scientists to research the effects of acetaminophen for emotional pain. Taking acetaminophen leads to less activation in the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, says Fogel. That's why some people actually take painkillers for emotional pain, though this is probably not recommended. Here are some smarter ways to control your emotions. Emotional and physical pain are related. What's interesting to note is that emotional pain and physical pain are so closely related. It's because of this relationship that negative thoughts can make you sick, affect your health. They can cause genuine physical pain. You have already experienced this fact firsthand. Think about the last time you felt stressed. You probably experienced strain around the neck and lower back. This is one of the most common manifestations of negative thinking, and one reason why we need to stop thinking negative thoughts. But there are many more. If you don't stop thinking negative thoughts, you'll become ill. In The Sacred Life, David Suzuki wrote that condensed molecules from breath exhaled from verbal expressions of anger, hatred, and jealousy contain toxins. Accumulated over 1 hour, these toxins are enough to kill 80 guinea pigs. It's easy to see how much of an effect negative thinking can have on the body. According to an article in The Lancet, San Francisco-based researchers examined the deaths of 30,000 Chinese Americans and 400,000 white people and discovered that the Chinese who believed themselves to have been born on an ill-fated year, according to Chinese astrology, died young, which the scientist states was precisely due to their belief in their ill-fated birth. In another study, 79% of medical students developed the illnesses they were studying because they became so paranoid about them. The problem is that negative emotions trigger the amygdala in the limbic brain to produce a fight-or-flight response in the body. In fight-or-flight mode, the immune system stops function properly, leading to illness, and all because of negativity. So it's vital to stop thinking negative thoughts for your health. How to stop negative thoughts from manifesting? The problem is not that we have negative thoughts. The problem is that we believe our thoughts are true. This is especially true for people who suffer from anxiety. If that's you, read my breakthrough guide to stopping anxiety today. To remove negative thoughts from your mind forever, you have to learn that thoughts simply are not real. The way to remove negative thoughts from your mind forever is to realize that thoughts are just thoughts and aren't real. Amazingly, this is the same for positive thoughts. A fixation on a certain positive thought can lead to just as many complications as a fixation on a negative thought. Imagine believing that you'll never die. Now how does jumping off a skyscraper sound? Okay, it's an extreme example, but it certainly illustrates the point. What matters is that we realize that negative thoughts are not real, they're just thoughts. As soon as we realize that, we'll stop panicking every time our mind says something horrible. 10 Ways how to remove negative thoughts from your mind. One of the best techniques to stop thinking negative thoughts is to realize they're not true. Here's how. 1. Meditate. Meditation has been proven to empower individuals over their thoughts. And there is no better way to beat depression than with meditation. When you meditate, you silence your mind and come to observe your thoughts calmly. You teach yourself to see a thought as nothing but a thought. 2. Write the thought on paper. This is one of my personal favorite techniques to stop negative thoughts. It's a lot easier to see your thought for what it is, often just words, when you write it out on paper. Write all your negative thoughts out and then look at them. You'll very quickly realize how unreal your thoughts are. 3. Draw it out. Some thoughts don't comprise of words but images. For instance, perhaps you think you'll become ill. In this case, draw out precisely what your mind is telling you will happen. Negative thoughts like that melt under the light of reality. Point 4. Tell someone, if you're an open person. This is one of the best techniques to stop negative thoughts. The average person will pretty quickly tell you if your thoughts are total bullshit. So tell them, and let them confront those negative thoughts for you. Point 5. Play with the thought. Whether your thought is a voice in your head or a picture, try playing with it. For instance, if it's a voice, then imagine the voice changing, becoming higher pitches, lower pitched, louder, quieter, and so on. If it's a picture, make it brighter, dimmer, bigger, smaller, and so on. By playing with the thought, you teach yourself that you have ultimate control over all your thoughts. Point 6. Think the same thought backwards. When you think the same thought backwards, you essentially make the thought a little game. You make it something tangible that you can play with. This technique is definitely alternative, but it definitely works. Point 7. Rate the thought from 1 to 10. Objectively appraise the thought. If it's a negative thought that actually holds some important truth, then you might like to rate the thought highly, and even thank your mind for the helpful information it provided. If it's an utterly stupid and worthless thought, rate it a 0 and tell your mind to come up with better thoughts. More ways how to remove negative thoughts from your mind. 8. Give up TV. Scientific research has confirmed that when we watch negative TV shows, the news, for instance, we develop a negative view of the world. Longitudinal studies show that people who watch the news are statistically more likely to dwell on negative thoughts. Time to give up TV. Point 9. Mantras. Mantras are word or phrases with psycho-spiritual powers, similar to spells and affirmations. There are specific mantras for negative energy removal. Point 10. An alternative way of removing negative thoughts is with the Hari Om technique. Also use these psychologically proven ways to stop thinking too much. How to stop thinking negative thoughts with NLP. Following is a classic NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, technique that lots of people have said they find helpful. It's particularly good for negative thought depression. Negative thinking depression occurs for a reason. Life teaches us what we need to know. Since the time when humans were in caves, we have been conditioned to use negative bias to see potential dangers. Thousands of years ago, this ability was important because we needed to be aware of dangers in the environment. But in today's modern age, negative thought bias is something of a hangover of our evolution, leaving us with negative thoughts that cause depression. Bring your negative and depressing thought to mind. Let the thought enter your mind. Now, rather than immediately forcing this negative thought aside, which is likely what you usually try to do, allow it to settle in your mind. Remember, it is only a thought, image, it cannot truly harm you. So allow it to stay in your mind for now. Imagine that the negative and depressing thought, image is actually a TV channel. See or hear the negative thought, image and realize that it has certain qualities. For instance, if a voice is saying something in your head, that voice has a tone, a volume, a pitch and so on, and a negative image has color, zoom, etc. To make the negative thought more comfortable, lessen the quality of the TV. Perhaps make it black and white. Turn the sound down. Change the tone of voices. Just play with that negative thought or image and make the signal weaker. This will make it easier for you to hold the image in your mind comfortably, when you are able to hold the thought in your mind with relative comfort. Tell yourself that the negative thought is actually a lesson waiting to be learned and that the lesson will help you once you see it for what it truly is. Then continue to examine your negative thought, searching for this lesson. Just look at the image and know that somewhere in it is a truth that will turn negative to positive. Once you start to feel comfortable doing this, begin to improve the quality of the TV, the mental image, sound, etc. Turn the sound up. If there is a sound, make the image bigger, brighter, etc. Just make that TV more like HD and then more like cinema, and eventually, when you get really comfortable, like real life. Now that you have played with the TV, the negative thought, you will realize that you have power over it. You are able to make the signal stronger or weaker as you choose. Know that you have power over the negative thought and let that be a comfort. Continue to investigate the thought for its positive lesson. Just play with the TV. Make it weaker and stronger and just continue to play with it and examine it. Eventually you'll hit a moment of realization. This moment will come out the blue. You won't notice it slowly arising, but a moment will come when all of a sudden you are looking at that negative thought in a very different light. You will know when this moment comes because you will have a physiological reaction, your body will react somehow. You will likely move spontaneously whilst feeling a moment of revelation. This is the lesson life is teaching you. Once you see the beauty in this once negative thought, realize that life is always right, that a negative thought is only negative because you are not looking at it in the right light. This should help with any future negative thoughts. You can use all these techniques to stop thinking negative thoughts. All these techniques to stop negative thoughts revolve around the same idea. You are teaching your mind to recognize that thoughts aren't real and that you are the master of the thoughts that run through your mind. You are CEO of your own mind. If negative thoughts try to convince you that they're running the show, face them square on and say, "You're just a thought. I'm master of my own mind." How to remove negative thoughts that other people give you. Some friends are good. Some friends are bad, and some friends are evil, like friends who use gaslighting strategies on you. Not everyone we associate with is good. There are those people who knock your confidence, who sap your energy, who leave you feeling worse. They can be anyone: friends, family, neighbors, lovers. They can be anywhere and they can take many forms. There's the blamer, those people who blames everything on you.